Saddle up with us tonight because we're going to be talking about the role of equine therapy for those who have disabilities. Please stay with us. Thank you and welcome. I'm Father Mitch and welcome to EWTN Live, our chance to bring you guests from all over the world. And today we didn't go too far across the world. In fact, stayed here in Alabama. And we know that when most people think about Talladega, Alabama, they think about race cars and horsepower. However, our guests tonight are from Talladega, and they are involved with a different form of horsepower. We're talking about the powerful, life-changing interaction between a horse and a child with disabilities. Here to tell us more about this, which is the Marianna Greene Henry Special Equestrians program, we have Pat and Marilyn Greene and Dan Lucy. Marilyn, welcome. Pat, Dan. It's an honor to have you here on our program, and I enjoyed being able to get out to your ranch the other day, as we saw from the opening clip. Actually, it's you, Pat and Marilyn, who own the land and are sort of starting this whole process in this program. And Dan, you're one of the volunteers, is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's first of all get started. How did you begin this kind of work?
Well, I guess it was kind of a surprise to us the way we got into it, but we lived in Birmingham in the late 80s and very comfortably with, we had 5 children. We had bought a farm in Talladega. I'd had a very successful business career, looking forward to retirement. We had one son who was a Jesuit priest. We were enjoying our grandchildren. And we had our daughter, Marianna, lived in Birmingham. And Marilyn, you might want to talk about Marianna.
Well, she was your average obnoxious teenager. But of course we loved her to the bone, but she really tried us sometimes. But she was a great, great little girl. And she just loved disabled children. And she loved horses, and it was a good mix because we bought her a horse, and she knew about the children in Talladega, how many disabled children that there were at AIDB.
Well, a lot of folks don't know what AIDB is.
Well, Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind.
Right, so there's actually 4 schools.
Yes, it is.
In Talladega.
Yes.
Dealing with various disabilities, correct?
Right, there's the blind school, there's a Helen Keller school for the multiple disabled, and the school for the deaf and the school for the blind.
Mm-hmm. So she's aware of that out in Talladega where y'all have a farm?
Yes,
right.
Yes. And she said, you know, you have a farm, you have horses. This would be a perfect place to start one of these groups. And she had gotten involved in one in Birmingham.
And by these groups, you mean a group doing equine therapy?
Right, right. But none of them did it on a regular basis. There was one group in Birmingham that called the Oak Mountain school for the handicapped, not handicapped anymore, it's disabled.
That was the term they used
That
then.
was the term
Right.
they used then. And so she had helped to get that group started, and she just loved it. And she took me, she said, one Saturday, they only did it on Saturdays. And that way, you know, with therapy, you really need at least 3 sessions a week to be helpful. Right. And so she took me, though, on this Saturday. And she had a child there that was so disabled that she had to sit on the back of the horse and hold the child, and also had the sidewalk, 2 sidewalkers, and someone to lead, as Dan can tell you. He's one of our best and most faithful volunteers. But it was very impressive. This child who could not sit up straight in a wheelchair, when he got on the horse, and Marianna, of course, was holding him so that he wouldn't fall off, but he sat up straight. It was just amazing. And so I was very taken with that,
Sure.
and she thought it was a good idea.
She went on to go to school in doing education for the disabled. Special ed?
In special ed. And she met a young man and fell in love and married after 2 years of college. But after they married, she went to UAB and wanted to finish
University
this.
of
University of
Alabama
in Birmingham.
You got to remember, there's a lot of Yankees
That's
listening.
right.
Careful now.
That's right. But anyway, she was going to continue that anyway. But her husband was transferred to Louisville, Kentucky, and so they moved away. And we just kind of put the thought of the special equestrians on the back burner. And you want to?
Well, after they moved to Birmingham,
To Louisville.
moved to Louisville, excuse me, we got a very distressed call. Marianna had been diagnosed with a heart condition. It was a viral cardiomyopathy. And she also, we didn't realize this, but had an enlarged heart in addition to that. So this is just almost uncurable. And in Louisville, at the Humana Hospital, some of the pioneers in heart transplant are in Louisville. We went up and talked to the doctors, and they said the only thing that can be done is for Marianna to get a heart transplant. Well, frankly, I was in denial. You know, I just didn't believe this could be happening. But we researched it, and we found that even though the doctors were great in Louisville, there was also a great group of doctors in Birmingham that did transplants. And the availability of organs was so much better in Birmingham, so we moved her to Birmingham. So when she moved here, we sold our house. We bought a house near UAB, University of Alabama in Birmingham, so we would be near the hospital. So when we got that call that the organ was available, that the heart was available, we could rush her to the hospital. So we lived there for, I guess, about 5 weeks, Marilyn, before she took a turn for the worse. We ended up, she went to the hospital, and we then waited for the availability of a heart. And if you've read anything at all about heart transplants and organ transplants, you know it's a very complicated, frustrating thing to go through.
Yes.
To make a long story short, she did not survive. She was put on a artificial heart, like a heart pump, but did not survive that. So, you know, all of a sudden, our whole life changed. We had prayed, and we had had many friends that were praying with us. Sister Veronica Ryan, who's a Benedictine nun, Father Henry McDade. All of them were great support to us. And we just felt like she was going to get well, but you know, she did not. So not only did we feel the shock of that, but you know, we went through all those emotions, anger and we questioned, why would God do something like this? And so we had I think, a very tough time. And many couples, when they go through something like this, I think, tend to separate. But I think in our case, Marilyn and I kind of depended on each other, and it brought us closer together.
Well, but one of the difficulties is that it didn't stop there, because Marianna's daughter, Natalie, also came down with the same problem.
Exact same thing.
She had the same cardiomyopathy.
Exactly.
And how old was she when she got that?
9 years old. Because we had, the doctors suggested that we have all of the children, even our other children's children, all of the grandchildren, tested for this, and they did an echocardiogram. And Natalie showed no signs of this at 4. She was only 4 years old when Marianna died. And the only thing that she said to me at 4 years old, she said, "I want to die and go to heaven and be with my mommy."
Sure, sure.
And of course we said, "Oh, don't say that." But anyway, they said, well, if we can keep her on medications, if we can get her into her teenage years, the availabilities of a heart for her will be much better. And so they did. She, would have little spells, but she did basically pretty well until she was about 14. And then she started getting very, very tired no matter what. She was just not, she was active. She wanted to move around, and they wouldn't let her ride a bicycle. They wouldn't let her do so many things. And she just was, they said the one thing she could do, she was going to Homewood High School. And they said, you can get in the color guard and carry a flag, because you can't get on the dance team. You can't do anything like that. But you could carry the flag. And so they were chosen, the Homewood High School band, to go to Florida for the Super Bowl that year. And we were scared to death for her to go. But she was so excited. And so we all said, okay, all right, you can go. And she came back with pneumonia. It was cold down there. That was in Miami, I believe. And she came back, but we have pictures of her carrying that flag. And oh, the expression on her face. Oh, she was so happy. And I wouldn't have taken that away from her for anything, but that was when it was the beginning of the end. With the pneumonia. That was what sped things up.
She also passed away.
She also passed away waiting for a heart.
Right, and we went over to the place where both of them are buried side by side.
Yes.
At the cemetery on your property. Now, one of the things, though, that is difficult as this has been, that also motivated you to start doing what Marianna had asked you to do in the beginning.
But this was before Natalie died, though, that we started this, because we were just at loose ends.
Well, there were two ladies at the Helen Keller School. One was a physical therapist, the other was director of recreation, who were involved with a equine therapy program. So when we talked to them, we thought, well, why don't we just try? And we started with a small group. We had 6 children from the Helen Keller School, and they came to our house, to our side yard. We built a wheelchair ramp, and we started with these kids. Now, these are children who are not just deaf or blind, but they're multi-disabled.
So they'll have deafness, perhaps blindness, and muscular
cerebral
dystrophy,
palsy,
cerebral palsy,
dystrophy.
right.
Yeah, right. So some of them are pretty severely disabled. But, it was interesting. I know in my case, I was always a little bit standoffish from disabled children. I felt a little funny. But we fell in love with them. And over time, we just got to the point where we just loved them and looked forward to them coming. And we realized that we couldn't continue the program in that little ring because of the weather conditions.
Right, so that you had an outdoor, ring for the horses to ride in. So you then began to expand.
Well, we decided we were going to build an enclosed arena. And frankly, it got bigger and bigger. And we ended up with what you saw the other day. But we have an arena now that covers some 39,000 square feet, enclosed, heated.
And also there's room for a lot of spectators.
We've had 2,500 spectators for shows. Sure. So we started our program with 6 kids from Helen Keller. We added children from the School for the Deaf, School for the Blind, Gentry. And there's an amazing group of teachers and people at AIDB who participated with them. And then the main thing that enabled us to do so well was we had folks like Dan, volunteers. We've got, what, 50 or more volunteers now, Dan?
Yeah,
at least 50.
Dan, yeah, tell us a little bit about that. You are one of the volunteers. How did you get started doing this?
Well, I had traveled to Talladega fairly recently, or fairly frequently, and I saw this huge arena. Right. And I thought, gee, I wonder what goes on there. And that was pretty much the extent of it, was a wondering what. And then at Mass one weekend, in the parish bulletin, I saw a little item in there that said, we're looking for volunteers at the arena, the Special Equestrians, and if you're interested, call this number or come on out. And I talked to my wife, who is a champion volunteer for everything, and she said, yeah, this is...
Now, did she volunteer or did she volunteer you?
She encouraged me. And I said, well, you know, I think I probably want to go out there and see what this is all about. And when I did, I was introduced to the arena personnel, the staff out there, and they explained to me generally what went on and asked me if I knew anything about horses, and I said, well, not really, but I'm not afraid of them, and I'm kind of a quick learner. I can kind of figure out how to clean up after them and those kinds of things. And they said, come, we need volunteers. And I have been there 13 years.
Wow. You know, as I mentioned, and we saw in some of these clips, I myself got a chance to get out there. And one of the things that we did at the Marianna Greene Henry Special Equestrians program and at the arena was speak not only with Pat, but also with both of your son, Tim Greene, who's the coordinator of the arena. And he couldn't be here tonight, but he did share with us a little bit about what's going on. So let's take a look at that interview with him.
Well, most of our children are not totally blind, but there's some that are, and they do have a light perception. The way that we will bring them into the barn, we have everything on the stalls in Braille. Their halters are in Braille. So their name on their stall is in Braille, so they can go in and they can feel their way through. Their feed buckets are in Braille. But most of the children are not totally blind, and they can see what they're doing. But they do learn all aspects of horsemanship also, so as do the deaf. Well, first of all, with their traditional therapy, you would have them in a therapy room, up at the school, laying on a mat, being stretched, using balls, different types of things to work their muscles. The children really don't like that. You bring them down here, the therapist can put them on a horse, and they think that they're down here for a pony ride, and that's all they need to know. They will do anything and everything you ask. They will lay down on the horse. We use a lot of props. They'll reach up and open a mailbox, take out a letter. They will touch the horse's ear. They will touch their right foot, their left foot. And they're just having fun. And that's one of the biggest things that you'll notice, that they have a big smile on their face the whole time, and they're doing their therapy. One of the other things that has really impressed me, and really one of the first things that I saw was communication. Many of these children do not speak at all, communicate in any way at all. You put them on a horse and they may be a little upset. Some of the children are scared and they may be a little upset getting on the horse, but after a while they love it and they're smiling and they're having a great time on the horse. Come time to get them off and they're kicking and screaming, they don't want to get off the horse. But they will start communicating in one way or another, whether it just be a sound or verbal. They want to tell you that they want to come back. They want to pet the horse. They want to talk to the horse. They want to tell their friends. They want to tell their teachers, their parents. When the child is on the horse and doing his therapy, and especially after the child has been doing it for quite a while, the child knows the horse, knows what to do. The therapist can get the child to do more and more and more each session, and the child is so much more comfortable with that horse. The longer they ride, the faster their rehabilitation is. It's whether it be communication, a physical rehabilitation. We've seen children that are in wheelchairs actually be able to walk in a walker. Children that are in walkers walking with a cane. It's just a much faster form of therapy.
You know, one of the things that I also noticed, because I got to meet one of the horses and ride him a little bit, is that, with a horse, horse is not a machine. And there's a relationship that's mutual with a horse. How do the horses respond to the children?
The horses are marvelous animals and very smart. Pat told me one time about one of the horses. I had to go fix the gates because the horse was figuring out how to get the locks off. He said, I think that Ezra could open a combination lock. So the horses are very sensitive to what the child needs. And the therapist actually identify the child's need and put them with the horse that will get that particular motion that they need. So all the training, the desensitization that goes on with the horse, they call it bomb-proof, because the children can do some erratic things every once in a while. It doesn't bother the horse at all. He's seen it all, and we as volunteers have been trained how to respond also. So each horse is an individual, but they are all dedicated to the program the same as everybody else is.
When Tim and I were talking, your son, one of the points that he made is if he or I went for a trail ride on the horses for the first time, they would probably try to knock us off. But they don't do that with the kids. They sense these kids have special needs. And do you see that too?
Yes, definitely. And it is amazing because I'm one of those people that would try to brush off on a tree or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But not with those children. The minute you put a disabled child on their back, they know it. And they would not do anything that would upset the child, or the child will try to upset it. Mm-hmm. but it's amazing what the horse does know.
In general, your horses are not real young. They're a bit more mature. The youngest one is what, 9?
I think 9.
Yeah,
Something
9.
like
But a number of them are in their teens and 20s.
Right.
So they're very mature horses, and they're pretty. They've seen, like you say, they've seen it all. Easy going, and they know they're doing something with these kids.
It takes quite a bit of doing to select these horses. We have a lot of people who offer us horses, and we probably end up taking 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6 because we put them through a routine to make sure they will be bomb-proof.
Yes.
And it's pretty hard to find a horse like this, but they're very dependable. They work hard. They work every day. They've got to be sound. Very special animals.
And also, when I was speaking with Tim and the trainers, they said that the horses themselves don't like to be in a rut. They like things to be interesting for them too. Do you see that as well?
It is,
Dan?
and I guess it's important to understand that the horse has to be very sensitive not only to the child, but he's also working with possibly 3 or 4 volunteers or staff members. One person who may be leading the horse, 2 people that are sidewalkers.
But by sidewalkers, you know, explain what that means, because
when you put one of the children on the horse, and they're not very steady on there, we require that you have a sidewalker on either side.
So that's someone who just walks
alongside of them. You may not even have to put a hand on the child's leg or whatever, but just be there in case something should happen. To encourage the children. I think probably my biggest thing is as a volunteer is to be a cheerleader. These kids respond so well to that. And as Marilyn said before, some of the children are in such a situation where they require a back rider just to hold them up. But what goes on with the therapy is developing muscles that they can't develop as just by sitting in a wheelchair.
Right.
This hippotherapy provides the same kind of movement that you and I would get because we're walking. And that was explained to me in great detail by some of the fine therapists that are out there.
Yeah, because that's one of the other things also for everyone to realize. You have some staff who are trained as equine therapists. That they're not just, you know, walking off the street, but they've gone to learn how to do this, and they give certain guidance to the volunteers.
They have a very extensive training program and a certification program, as does our center. And we are a premier center, one of the premier centers in the United States for an organization called PATH, Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship. And so we follow the standards of PATH, and we have all of our instructors have been certified at certain levels, some of them at the very highest level. And of course we have physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, all of these that work with the children.
Yeah. So this is a very whole program, and a very integrated program on so many levels, and that certainly contributes to the great success that you see with this in helping these kids out.
And we have about 300 children in this program. It's a pretty good sized program. We're the largest program of its kind in the country serving sensory impaired and multi-disabled kids. And we probably are the largest in the world, maybe, I'm not sure, but we do get inquiries from all over the world about our program.
Fantastic. It's a great ministry. We're going to take a break, and we would like to get some of your questions and your comments, so please stay with us. Welcome back. And we, first of all, like to thank all the folks who've come here. We have a parish group or diocese group from Central Missouri, and we have some folks from their parish over in Talladega, St. Francis Parish, with their pastor, and a group of priests here as well from the Confraternity of Priests. And we would love to have you come here as well. If you get a chance to come down to Alabama, please contact our pilgrimage department. You can call them at 205-271-2966. Or you can also go to our website, www.ewtn.com. Also, they asked me to make mention of this. I do have a brand new book out. It's called Winning the Battle Against Sin, and that's now available at EWTN's Religious Catalog. You can contact them at EWTNreligiouscatalog.com, or you can call 1-800-854-6316. You know, I was going to name it Sin. I'm against it. But sometimes I forget. But they said that was too long, so I didn't. But it's one of the other things I want to make sure we also mention is that this is not your family business, but your family does work a lot in it. This is a not-for-profit organization, correct?
Yes.
All right, so, and you have a website people can go to?
We do, and it was just on the screen, but it's www.mgharena.com, and it gives you a lot of the background of our program. We're a nonprofit, 501c3 organization, and we operate with donations from friends and companies and foundations and so forth, because we have a pretty healthy budget, as you might imagine, with as many children as we serve.
I mean, all your animals eat like horses.
They do. Every day.
Every day. So yeah, that'd be great to folks to take a look at that website. We have some questions?
Yes.
All right, let's start off with Anastasia. Hello, Anastasia.
Hi, Father Mitch.
Hi, where are you from?
I'm from Ohio.
Great. And what's your question?
Well, you talked about it a little bit at the beginning about the bond between the children and the horses and the fact that horses are extremely intelligent. What kind of bonding, could you expound on that a little bit? I mean, how do they communicate with the horse? Are there certain signs, signals? And have you noticed any special bonding happening between horses and some of the children? Has there been any kind of little small miracles?
Dan?
I'm not sure that I would call it small miracles, but it probably is. The children bond with the horses almost immediately. The first time they get on that horse, it's a little bit scary for them. But once they see and feel and get involved with it, they respond to the horse as a friend. And I guess in answer to the question, I've seen many occasions where the child will be dismounted and want to go over and pet the horse and talk to the horse however they may communicate with them. And it's kind of a thank you very much for what you've done for me. That's what's going on in my mind. I'm not sure what's going on in the horse's mind, but if you give them a cookie, that's really good.
All right, let's take another question from our studio audience. Father, where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey.
New Jersey. And your question?
You mentioned that most of these children have physiological disabilities and things that has to have an impact on their emotional and social state from themselves. Maybe we can talk about how that impacts their physiological problems impact their psychological makeup, how the horses help, maybe what kind of, how supportive their families are for this?
Okay, that's a multifaceted question, but first of all, there are 4 schools at AIDB. The Helen Keller School is a school that has the children with multiple disabilities. All of them have a sensory impairment, but they have some other disability. The other schools, like the School for the Deaf, the School for the Blind, they are either blind or deaf and may or may not have another disability, a physical disability. So most of the extreme therapy work done by the physical therapist is for the Helen Keller children. And they have individual programs that are developed. The therapist, sometimes a doctor involved, the instructors, our staff, and they develop a program for that child, addressing whatever problems the kid may have. It could be a problem with weakness in the trunk of the body. It could be a case where the child does not speak. You know, so there are various things, but each program is tailored to that child. The School for the Deaf and the School for Blind, many of those children in other ways are completely normal. But they do have such things as equilibrium problems. They have maybe problems with self-worth and that sort of thing. So there is a part of our program that's called Equine Facilitated Mental Health. With those cases, with a psychologist, we actually get to some of the problems the children might have as it involves maybe some issue that they have relative to the classroom or just a variety of things. But here again, we have individual programs for each child. So we try to address those things. So there's no one answer to that question. It depends on the child.
Yeah, it's clearly not one size fits all.
Not at all.
Yeah. So there's a very much a social aspect just among everybody that's doing the therapy and volunteering with each child. And that's part, as I understand it, a lot of these children live at these schools. Is that right?
We do have a large number of them that live there. And you know, a child that's blind or deaf can't participate in sports like football or basketball.
Right.
So horseback riding is the only thing they can do. We have a riders club that some of the better riders participate in, about 20 children. And this really helps their self-esteem. They practice 4 days a week. They enter horse shows, put on demonstrations. They have uniforms, and they take great pride in what they do.
As a matter of fact, from what I heard at your ranch, is that a number of the children in that Riders Club have won a lot of awards at various horse shows.
Special Olympics.
Yeah.
Special Olympics.
Special
yeah.
Olympic stuff. So they're
Very
quite
much so.
well. Well, let's have another caller. Hello, John. John, are you there?
Hi.
How you doing?
John.
What's your question, John?
Well, I actually have two. The first one would be, is there any particular breed of horse that does really well with the children? And then I wanted to say, if anybody fell off, are the sidewalkers good? Did they catch them? Do you have anything happen like that? And I'll hang up.
You know, this is a guy who I think looks for the jokes with the slip on the banana peel.
Well, we have a lot of different types of horses. Obviously, we don't have many thoroughbreds. You know, we don't want them trying to run a race. And a lot of it depends on the staff, the barn staff, and the horses that they're familiar with. Because we have had times when we had one type of horse that the staff was familiar with. And like now, though, we have a mixture. We have a lot of quarter horses.
Yes. Yeah.
mostly quarter horses, but we've got a Belgian, great big horse, and Ezra, and then we've got a few pony horses, size horses. They call it a POA, Pony of the Americas. We've had a few Shetlands, but Shetlands are kind of temperamental.
Yeah, they are.
So we don't have too many of them. So a lot of it depends on the horse, the training it's had, and that sort of thing, with some exceptions. So there's a variety of horses.
And also, one of the things that I also learned out there is that your horses are geldings, so they're strong, but by neutering them, they're much more gentle.
True. And
that's an important element of the horses too, so that a stallion can be pretty temperamental too. So having geldings it certainly helps to keep everybody calm.
Right.
The second part of the question about sidewalkers and ever losing a child, in the 13 years that I've been there, we've never had a situation where somebody has fallen off a horse when the sidewalkers are with them. Some of the volunteers, when they're riding, have not had the same great success. But I have a personal experience that I learned that a horse can kick to the side pretty quickly. And so sidewalkers are paying attention the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do the horses ever show any aggression to the sidewalkers or the volunteers?
They don't necessarily show aggression, but they will tell you when they are irritated by where you are walking in their personal space.
Right.
And that can be a swish of the tail, or they tell you to watch for the ears.
Yes.
Or when you get kicked in the leg.
that just sort of brings it with a punctuation point.
Exactly. It's a lesson I learned well.
Yeah. It's that's one of the things about horses is that they want to see certain areas of what's going on around them. They don't like surprises. So like truck drivers, they don't want you in their blind spot, and horses are very concerned about that too.
One thing I'll just add quickly, though, you say no surprises. One of the tests we put these horses through is the surprise test. We'll take balloons and pop them, or things, and throw at the horse, because you can never tell when a child on the back of a horse who might have a ball or something might decide to throw it and hit the horse in the head. Mm-hmm. We can't afford to have a horse that would react badly if that were the case.
Right. So the horses.
So they are very sedate when it comes to that sort of thing.
Oh, that's good.
And we also start each year with a training and orientation for the volunteers, and a great deal of that is made up of being safety oriented. And if there is a situation where the child or the horse reacts in a difficult situation, we do emergency dismounts. We are all properly trained in how to do that. It's a very well organized training session for the volunteers.
Yeah. All right. We have another question. Father, where are you from?
The Diocese of Jefferson City.
And you brought these folks over from Missouri, Central Missouri.
That's right.
Show me.
Show me, that's right.
But what's your question, Father?
You alluded to it earlier. How successful have you been able to obtain funding support from the local community, and also how far does the circle of funding support reach beyond?
Well, we first of all, it takes a good bit of money to run an operation like this, with 3,000 or so sessions a year that we conduct, rides and so forth. And we have a paid staff of 6 people. We've got a lot of horses to feed. We've got a lot of facilities to maintain. So we have an annual budget of about $300,000. We raise that money from donations from some local, but actually most of our donations come from foundations, from many of my former business associates with Bell South have been most generous, and so we get donations from all over the Southeast from them. when we started the program, we ended up requiring a fund. We had a fund drive, and we had to raise over $1 million to build our arena. Everything we have done, we've not done any building at all until we had the money in hand. So we've been.
There's that careful business background showing up, isn't it?
So we've been quite successful, I think, and we've had a great deal of support from the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind. Okay. We pay a fee to them to help us with our bookkeeping. They do some help with us fundraising, sure. And it's a remarkable organization to begin with.
Yes.
And we're just so pleased to be associated with them. We only serve AIDB clients. We do not take any others from other parts of the community.
So let's get another call. We have Janie on the line. Hello, Janie.
Hello.
Hi, where are you from?
I'm from Talladega, actually.
Oh, great, great.
My daughter attends the ASD program, has been there since she was 3, and she's now 11. And she's one of the riders in the Riders Club. And we just got a praise report because she's just has done and progressed greatly. She worked on her self-esteem. She had a lot of lower limb weakness that we had to develop, and through the grace of God and the Greenes and the staff has built those up to where she's very independent now. She has been, like I said, since she was 3, and 2 years ago we went to Troy, Alabama, to the Special Olympics, and she came home with a gold medal.
She was one of the children I heard everybody bragging about.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for calling with. I know that's someone who is very much, benefited from it and seen, the good work that y'all do. Let's take another question here from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
I'm from Jefferson City, Missouri.
Great, good to have you here. And what's your question?
Well, my nephew has autism, and he does this once a week, this writing, and other activities, of course. But I'm wondering are your students charged anything personally? And because I think that's what the problem, why my nephew isn't able to do it more often is because they just can't afford it. Sure. And I think at least where they do it, they're charged. And I'm just wondering if there's you had mentioned that would it be helpful to have it like 3 days a week? And I'm just wondering if there's any way to help people be able to do it more often.
Well, we, first of all, the way we operate, we only serve the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind children, and we have a relationship with them. Our nonprofit foundation is a subsidiary of the AIDB Foundation, and so we get a lot of support from them. But we basically raise the money to operate the program, to maintain the building, the horses and so forth, through donations. So we do not make a specific charge for the therapy. We don't charge on a per child basis. There are many programs around the country, and they range all the way from nonprofits like the one we have to programs that actually charge. To my knowledge, I know of no special program that would pay for those charges. But I think if you look around, you can probably find some programs that are either subsidized or do not charge. And I would suggest that she contact PATH and get some information from them. They can give you more detail about programs in her area.
And what does PATH stand for?
Professional Association of Therapeutic Horseback Riding.
There you go. And so if you look them up on the internet, I'm sure you'll find some more information about, what's available. And, this is something that you started as a family in response to a very difficult family situation. And, taking a dream from your daughter another step. This is something that perhaps a lot of folks who might not feel comfortable being catechists or even working in a soup kitchen or something, they may not like to do that kind of service. But this is precisely the kind of service that we people throughout the church can do when the resources are available. And again, that's how you got involved in this. You all are parishioners, because the parish in Sylacauga and the parish in Talladega are run by the same pastor. So you have these links as a parish community doing this service, out of love of God and one another. So this is something that would be a good model for many others as well, I think. Let's take another call. We have Paulette. Paulette, you on there?
Yes, I am, Father.
Where are you from?
I am from Kerman, California.
Great. And
my question is I was raised around horses. Of course, I'm older now and I'm not really affiliated with them, but I know how they can help people in so many ways. My question is, besides going to the website, how are there many more of these in other states? And if so, if not, how does one go about starting this program?
All right. We have a couple minutes left, so what would you suggest?
There are many programs around the country. Ours happens to be one of the larger ones, but there are many small programs. And if you want to start a program, it takes a lot of work to get into it, and it's much like starting a business, I think. But I would suggest the person get in touch with PATH, PATH.com, get information there. They're welcome to call us. We would be happy to give any information about the program and what we have done and what the requirements are, and share that. We have done that with many, many other programs, both in this country and out of the country.
And something else, doing equine therapy is a big undertaking. And because the horses don't get fed once a week, they got to eat every day, multiple times. But also for people to realize other animals can also be a great help to a wide variety of parts of our population. A number of homes for the elderly have found dogs or cats. Sometimes cats and dogs can cause allergies, but there are many places where they're also used therapeutically, and other animals as well, doing great deal of work. And again, we can be creative in working with one another and with a variety of animals. Horses being one of the coolest. Maybe you can start an elephant one.
Ellen Davis has a therapy bunny.
There you go. There you go. And again, we just want to remind everybody that this is the Marianna Greene Henry Special Equestrians Program. And the website, again, is www.mgharena, and that's all as one word, mgharena.com. And I'll give out your phone number too for the organization. It's 256-761-3364. Being our own kindnesses to animals and their mutual kindnesses back are a very, very good thing, and this is a great relationship you have developed. I want to thank all of you for being with us tonight and letting folks know that, not only you as a family, but your parish family has become involved in this kind of work. That's where a lot of them came from Talladega. So thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
It's been really an honor to be out there with y'all and in Talladega as well as have you here.
Our 2014 year starts in September. We're looking for more volunteers.
Okay. All right, we'll get a bunch of folks down here. Well, we've run out of time and I want to give you a blessing. Almighty God bless you and keep you and cause His face to shine upon you. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. You know, we can do programs like this one and get out to Talladega and bring them here to the studios, all because you make this network possible. And especially in the summertime, we ask you to keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and your cable bill so we can pay our bills too. Thank you.